Disagreements, disputes, and grievances are an unavoidable part of life. Wherever two or more people gather, there is bound to be a disagreement at some point. I take it to be a symptom of the sin that lurks deep within all of us and that pervades human culture. There's not much we can do to alter the fact that we will disagree with one another, but what we do with our disagreements is absolutely within our control. It is this issue to which Paul now turns in 1 Corinthians. Hello, I'm Stuart Baskin, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Tyler, Texas, and this is your daily devotional for Saturday, March 19th, 2022. Disagreements can turn into disputes, and disputes can foster deep grievances. People resolve these things in a whole variety of ways, some helpful and creative, others destructive and even violent. Sometimes we resolve differences in ways where everybody wins, and other times, we simply withdraw from one another. I'm reminded of the story of the man who had been marooned on a deserted island for some years. Now, he was fortunate that the island supplied ample food, fresh water, and trees to harvest wood for shelter and fuel. After some years of waiting and hoping for a rescue, a passing ship happened to see his signal and sent a small rescue boat to investigate. As he prepared to get into the boat to begin his journey home, he asked the crew to allow him to show them what he had accomplished and how he had survived all these years. First, he took them to his hut. There they found more than just a little hut. They found a comfortable little home overlooking the bay. Then he took them to the little chapel he had constructed and where he had worshiped faithfully each and every day, and where he actually conducted Sunday worship services each and every week. As they returned to the rescue boat to take him to the ship for his journey home, one of the rescuers noticed a trail that was overgrown and had obviously been unused for some time. Looking up the trail, he noticed another little structure. Wondering what it was and why the castaway hadn't taken them to see it, he asked, "And what is that little building up there?" The castaway answered dismissively, "Oh, that's my former church. We had a disagreement about what kind of hymns to sing, so I left and started another church." One man, one island, two churches. It's obviously a little bit silly, but it illustrates an important point about the church. We disagree often, and our disagreements often lead to divisions and even splits. The church in Corinth seemed poised to split as well. We know that they were divided in their loyalties between Paul and Apollos, and we know that they were not always diligent in maintaining the purity and integrity of the church. But there was something else going on that Paul counted as possibly even bigger a threat to the church and to its witness. Church members who found themselves in disputes with one another were seeking relief in the court system. They were suing each other. Here's how Paul describes the situation. "When any of you has a grievance against another, do you dare take it to court before the unrighteous instead of taking it before the saints? Do you not know that the saints will judge the world? And if the world is to be judged by you, are you incompetent to try trivial cases? Do you not know that we are to judge angels, to say nothing of ordinary matters? If you have ordinary cases, then, do you appoint as judges those who have no standing in the church? I say this to your shame. Can it be that there is no one among you wise enough to decide between one believer and another, but a believer goes to court against a believer, and before unbelievers at that? In fact, to have lawsuits at all with one another is already a defeat for you. Why not rather be wronged? Why not rather be defrauded? But you yourselves wrong and defraud, and believers at that." You can tell by Paul's tone that he is dumbfounded by the Corinthians and their practice of resorting to civil courts to resolve disputes among them. But don't we do the same thing today? The answer is yes, we do. I suspect that if you asked the parties to most civil suits about their faith commitments, many, if not most, would profess to be Christians. So, two questions seem to be in order here. First, why was resorting to civil courts such a problem for Paul? I think the answer is that the Christian community then was a relatively small group of people, and because theirs was a new faith system, their presence in Corinth would have been quite conspicuous. People around them would have been watching them and judging this new faith in Jesus Christ by observing how these Christians spoke and acted. For church members to resort to civil courts to resolve their differences would simply have revealed that these Christians were nothing special, and neither was their faith. The practice of suing one another weakened their witness to Jesus Christ. Okay, fair enough, but what about us today? We are no longer a novel faith, and Christianity, while experiencing declines in our culture, is still the faith of a pretty overwhelming majority of people in the U.S. Unless we plan to have our own alternate court system, there is not much alternative to civil courts to resolve civil disputes, even among Christians. In an ideal world, Christians would not sue one another. Disputes would be handled peacefully, perhaps even cordially. But this is not an ideal world. We still live with the reality of sin every day. Sometimes even Christians must resort to civil courts to resolve differences. Unlike in Paul's day, it is not quite the same scandal to the gospel for Christian people to resort to civil courts to resolve their disputes. On the other hand, what a witness it would be if we in the church could demonstrate a better way for everyone to see. Tomorrow, Paul answers some very specific questions about marriage. But for now, may God continue to bless you and keep you in all that you do this day and in all the days ahead.